good afternoon, brother. How's
Good
it
afternoon.
going?
Pretty good. It's going all right.
The diesel engines. Diesel engines. Do you remember there was something they called the 7.3 liter Power Stroke diesel engine?
Yeah.
Now, I think California sort of led the charge to change that because of it emitted so much. They wanted to get their emissions down in those diesel engines. So they made some modifications to those engines. That was what, about 2004, something like that?
Yeah, I think it was around that
Somewhere.
time
Don't hold us to the date, but it was about that time. And so they switched over to the 6.0 liter diesel engine. And they made their emissions goal. They did. They reduced the emissions because it's a smaller engine, and they made some, I think like you said, they did some changes to the injectors, right?
The fuel injectors and the exhaust recirculation
valves.
They did some things like that.
Plus, they made it smaller. Okay, so great. They made their goal. But what was the unintended consequence there of that? Or maybe it was intended, but I don't know. But what can't they do now with
Or conspiracy theories? You don't believe in conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
We're not talking about conspiracy here. We're just talking about the facts here. So, all right.
Well, no, The in effect of that was that you can't run 100% biodiesel in these engines.
Right. Okay.
I had to do some research, and I actually talked to some mechanics. And they said, well, the reason why is because that if you combust that biodiesel, it gets past the engine and into the lubrication system, and if you just keep running it, it'll accumulate in the lubrication system and eventually seize the engine.
Right.
So, and so that's because of the exhaust, the new exhaust system that they put in there, like we were talking about. They said that the country can run off up to 20% biodiesel and 80% regular diesel. So you can use at least 20%, but like I said, I don't think you can use 100% biodiesel in these 6.0 liter
right, you can't.
Diesel engines.
Which is unfortunate. They limited themselves now with a nice, non-fossil fuel that would burn in them, and so now they can't do that anymore. But that's a consequence of that. But another aside to that, the 6.0 liter engine, they've had a lot of problems, I guess, with that design. They've had mechanical problems, and our brother has had several of those 6.0, and he's had it in the shop a lot. So, but everybody that's had a 6.0, I don't know a lot of people that have a 6.0, liter diesel engine in their truck. They all want to go back to the 7.2 or the 7.3, diesel engine because they just ran so much better. So, progress, I guess. You got to make progress. You got to have to make some sacrifices. So.
Yeah, and I can just see what they're talking about, because the reason why they did this engine is because they wanted to reduce the nitric oxide emissions from these diesel engines, because California was where that kind of started. They wanted their nitric oxide emissions to go down, so that's one of the things they needed to do. And so it is kind of showing a little bit that biodiesel does produce a little more nitrogen oxides than petrol diesel does. But when you take into all the other emissions that come from like combusting diesel, like carbon monoxide or particulates or carbon dioxide, all that stuff, biodiesel is much lower. Like it's a much better fuel than diesel is for the environment.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Well, that's true. So it's unfortunate, but you can modify it though, right? A mechanic can retrofit an engine to do more biodiesel, right?
I think it's possible. I saw like a biodiesel company out in Utah saying that they had a mechanic modify one of these engines, but it could run off 100% biodiesel at that point. But it's not a trivial fix. I mean, it's not something that you can just the regular Joe. You probably need a mechanic or someone to do that for you.
It might be
you do a little research and stuff into it and see what you'd have to do. So that's you could do something like that. But like I said, biodiesel I definitely think is a better alternative. I think we should. I mean, it's a better fuel than. In fact, right now what they do, you have to have some biodiesel in your regular diesel. And I don't know if you knew this, but back around 2007, the country went from regular diesel to ultra a low diesel fuel or a low sulfur fuel. And so when they did low sulfur fuel, they had to put through another refinery process, which made it more expensive. But when they did that, it became more abrasive. So it's actually is more wear and tear on your vehicle. So in order to counteract it, they actually put in biodiesel into regular petrol diesel at 1%. And that actually acts as a lubricant for that diesel. So that's why we have biodiesel plants, is to provide that diesel or biodiesel into diesel at that 1%, that 1% to lubricate the diesel fuel.
All of these topics about biodiesel, which are brought up in this video, are discussed in my book called Biofuels Manufactured from Renewables Other Than Cornstarch. I'm briefly going to show some of the contents in this biodiesel manufactured book chapter. Biodiesel standards for contaminants and physical properties. Mixing biodiesel into petrodiesel improves its lubricity. Using waste glycerin could start another major manufacturing industry. Making biodiesel as a batch production process. Higher volume, more continuous biodiesel industrial production. Performance properties of biodiesel from oilseed sources. Using enzymes to make biodiesel. Biodiesel has bad properties that can be corrected by additives.
No, that's good. That was good that we talked about that and stuff.
All right, well, until next time, we're the Climate Change Brothers. We're signing off.